And despite Meghan Markle taking a rare vow of silence since the publication of Spare, royal insiders now fear there could be an ulterior motive. We know that the uber-woke Archbishop of Canterbury, Justin Welby, has been drafted in to mediate discussions between the firm and the Sussexes over their role in the coronation. And as I revealed in my Mail Online column yesterday, insiders worry that by making no comment on Spare's contents, Meghan could be setting herself up as a power broker in likely forthcoming negotiations between Harry and King Charles. So, amid speculation that she wants a major role in negotiating the coronation agreement, can the Duchess of Sussex be trusted to do the right thing by Britain? Let me know your thoughts. Email me, dan@gbnews.uk. Vote in our poll at GBNews. Those results shortly. But to debate this now, I'm joined by the social commentator Joanna Jarju, former aide to Margaret Thatcher, Niall Gardner, and the royal commentator Richard Fitzwilliams. Niall Gardner, can we trust that Meghan is going to do the right thing by the country and the right thing by the monarchy rather than just the right thing by herself?
Great to see you, Dan. I have to say that we simply cannot trust Meghan Markle at all. I think she has really led a vicious campaign to undermine the royal family here. She is thoroughly untrustworthy, I think hugely vindictive. And we simply cannot in any way, I think, trust anything she does in terms of her dealings with the royal family. She is the last person on earth, frankly, who should be handling some kind of negotiation with the British monarchy. I think that this is an extremely dangerous idea.
Joanna Jarju, you're a big supporter of Meghan. How do you respond? Can we trust her?
I mean, the whole question to me makes absolutely no sense because, first of all, should Meghan be there in this family mediation, which is what this is? It's not just
I don't think she should.
Where you've got two different, sides that are talking, something that's hugely important. This is about a family mediation and something that Meghan has been hugely involved in. And secondly, about the whole thing about can she be trusted to do the right thing by Britain? What decision is even going to be made in these mediations that's going to remotely affect anything to do with Britain? This is about a family that's been hurt. Things have happened on both sides.
Joanna, I would say a huge amount, because the eyes of the world are going to be on Britain on the day of the coronation. And as it stands, Prince William, I think quite rightly, is highly sceptical and highly suspicious and actually deeply worried that Harry and Meghan might use some sort of stunt to try and overshadow the coronation. Now, I'm saying I don't trust her to do the right thing by Britain, but I'm happy to hear the other side. Why should we trust Meghan, Joanna?
Well, I don't think that there's anything that Meghan could possibly do based on, their behaviour in the past when there's been very public events that the royal family have been involved in.
Leaked private conversations?
Harry has attended his grandfather's funeral, he's attended his grandmother's funeral, and when Meghan actually came to the Queen's funeral, she didn't say a word, yet the British press went after her as if she made the whole thing about herself. She came, she was quiet, they both were quiet and respectful, and I think this is another family occasion where they're just going to turn up, if they decide to, and just cooperate.
OK. Well, I think the issue is about what they did after, about the fact that, for example, they recounted a deeply personal conversation had between father and son, Harry and Charles, just minutes after a grief-stricken Charles had laid his father, Prince Philip, to rest. That entire conversation was recounted in Spare. So that's the sort of damage. But, Richard, you've heard Joanna there say, actually, Meghan's done nothing wrong here. We can trust her. As a royal commentator, do you think she has our best interests at heart?
I think that she has her own interests at heart, and I certainly have an idea where those interests might lie. What we've got is an absolutely extraordinary situation. We've got the Archbishop of Canterbury, apparently, if the reports are true, mediating between King Charles and the Sussexes, with William reportedly extremely sceptical about it. It ought to be borne in mind that since early December, there have been a series of vicious attacks by the Sussexes on the royal family, with 5 trailers, and one of them, of course, deliberately intended to upset the Prince and Princess of Wales's trip to Boston. Then subsequently we had 6 hours of Netflix of that documentary and attacks on the Commonwealth. There was a brief truce, very nice of them for Christmas, and subsequently we had Spare and all those interviews. So far as Meghan's concerned, what I do think that part of the plan might very well be is to be involved in some sort of negotiation with the royal family whereby they won't get an apology as such as the way they've said that they want one, but what they will, I think, or might get is some indication, a nod to what they think they've suffered. She could use that in the future.
Yeah, exactly. And Niall, I'm sorry, they don't deserve that. I'm fully with William here. Why is Charles bending down to satisfy these two, Niall? At the end of the day, if they don't want to come to the coronation, don't come. But let me tell you, they will be here because all of their multi-million-dollar deals, Niall, are completely dependent on having a close proximity to the British royal family.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct, Dan. And I think that Prince William's instincts are fundamentally right on this, that he really fears that Harry and Meghan will basically be disruptive if they come over to the United Kingdom. They have a long track record, of course, of briefing against the royal family. They will use private conversations in order to sell books, basically. So they're in it for their own agenda. In fact, they are basically, I would describe as high-level extortionists in many respects, making extraordinary demands of the royal family. They're in no position whatsoever to be making any demands at all. They should be really cast into the wilderness, frankly. They should have no future role within the British monarchy at all.
Joanna, how do you respond to that? Niall Gardner, this is a man very politically connected, says Harry and Meghan are now high-level extortionists.
I think that's absolutely ridiculous. I think that
Why?
Harry had every right to give his account of his story, and he's done that now. And I think that it's completely ridiculous and ludicrous that anybody would think that anytime he has, any interaction with his family, that he's going to write it in a book. And actually, realistically, when we think about the accusations that Harry has made in the book, just because he's been, put his head above the parapet and said, this is what I think, this is my story, doesn't mean that the royal family haven't been briefing and haven't been leaking stuff, but behind closed doors. Just because somebody decides to...
Richard shaking his head at that. Richard, why are you shaking your head at that?
I'm shaking my head because the lies in Spare, for example, the idea that the press, and we're talking about the paparazzi, we're talking about the royal rotans, photographers, we're talking about royal correspondents and commentators and critics on social media, that they're an extension of the Buckingham Palace public relations is absolute rubbish. What we've seen is very careful manipulation by the Sussexes, and incidentally, regarding the royal racists, now we're told nearly 2 years later, it's unconscious bias.
Doesn't exist. Nothing to see here. Nothing to see here, Richard, until Meghan's autobiography, I'd say. They're saving it for that. Thank you so much to the social commentator, Joanna Jaju, former aide to Margaret Thatcher, Niall Gardner, and the royal commentator, Richard Fitzwilliams. But who do you agree with? Amid speculation she wants this major role, can the Duchess of Sussex be trusted to do the right thing by Britain in the negotiations over the coronation of the King? From Julia, they shouldn't be allowed anywhere near the coronation. The day is about the King and Queen, not the pair who sold out the royal family for money. Richard on Twitter writes, why should she? She is full of her own importance. The majority don't want her at the coronation. But from Fiona, yes, it is a family event. So that's a different take. Your verdict is now in. Just 6% of you agree that Meghan can be trusted. 94% of you say keep out of those negotiations with woke Justin Welby. Have to say, I've got to be honest with you, one of my issues is I don't trust Justin Welby in this case to do the right thing by Britain either. Remember, he's Team Harry and Meghan.